Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really digging into something foundational, a kind of blueprint for living well and leading effectively. Our sources call it the golden path of wisdom.
That's right. And we're drawing heavily from the work of engineer Reuben Juma Onunga.
Yeah, a Kenyan civil and water engineer, writer, mentor, quite a background.
Exactly. And what's so interesting, I think, is how he combines this deep, almost philosophical wisdom,
Mm-hmm.
Rooted in biblical principles,
Mm-hmm.
with a really practical mindset of an engineer, someone who's actually built things, systems, across East Africa.
So this isn't just theory floating in the air.
Not at all. It's meant to be an actionable architecture,
Yeah.
something to help avoid those, costly mistakes,
Yeah.
avoidable failures.
Okay. And the core idea, it seems, comes from Proverbs, chapter 4, verse 7.
Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom, and in all you're getting, get understanding. That's the heart of it.
We hear so much about being smart, getting more knowledge.
Right. Information overload.
But this source insists wisdom comes first. That's the priority.
And that really sets our mission for this deep dive, doesn't it?
Which is,
To pull out that specific architecture he talks about, the sequence, the tools you need, and where you actually apply this wisdom in life.
so for you listening, it's about getting those priorities straight.
Yeah, so the things you build your career, your family,
Hmm.
maybe a business, they're built on a solid foundation, built to last.
Okay, let's get into that core sequence then.
Yeah.
He uses this analogy, right? Like building a house.
A really good one, yeah.
Yeah.
A multi-story structure. Skip a step,
Mhm.
and, things get shaky.
So what are the stages? The non-negotiables.
There are three, and the order is absolutely critical. First is knowledge.
Okay.
That's just gathering the facts. It's like filling the house with materials, blueprints, all the raw stuff.
Got it. Raw material.
Then second comes understanding. This is the really crucial middle piece,
Why crucial?
because understanding connects things, causes, context, consequences. It establishes the footing, braces the frame of the house. It gives structure to the knowledge.
Right. Makes sense of the raw data.
Precisely. And then finally, you get to wisdom.
The top floor.
Kind of. It's the choice, the action. Acting rightly at the right time for the good. It's the finished, usable home.
Knowledge is the what, understanding is the how and why it connects, and wisdom is the what do we do now?
You've got it.
So we're swimming in facts today, right? And
Yeah.
information everywhere. Where do people usually mess this sequence up? Do they jump straight to trying to be wise?
Often, yeah. Or they skip that middle step, understanding. They go from knowledge straight to action.
And what happens then?
You end up acting without context, wasted energy, efforts going in the wrong direction. The source actually warns, having knowledge without understanding. You just drown in details.
Yeah.
Facts, but no pattern.
Just noise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And real wisdom, its core identity, is described as moral clarity meeting practical judgment. You can't get that judgment without understanding.
Okay, and that understanding, that wisdom, it needs a foundation within us first. The source talks about guarding the spring of life.
Yes, absolutely. That spring of life is your inner world, your heart, your mind, where choices actually come from.
So if that's unguarded,
Then even clever decisions can get corrupted or just leak away. And the very first posture you need to even receive wisdom, according to the text, is humility.
humility, that feels countercultural. We're usually told to be confident, project strength.
But this isn't about being timid. It's practical humility.
How so?
It means acknowledging your limits,
Mhm.
welcoming complexity instead of demanding simple answers, and crucially, being willing to seek out and actually welcome correction.
So pride is the opposite. Resenting complexity, thinking you have all the answers.
Exactly. Pride hates being told it's wrong. Wisdom knows it needs correction because it doesn't have the whole map.
And the sources get really practical here, don't they? Offering small habits like a trellis for growth.
Yeah, not grand gestures, but small daily rhythms. Things that protect that inner spring.
Like,
Things like starting the day with some kind of orientation, maybe a short time with scripture or prayer, just to set your moral compass for the day.
setting the focus.
Right. And discipline in speech. Simple but hard. Saying less, making sure what you do say is, kind and true.
That's a big one.
It really is. And then there's this practice called examine.
Examine. Tell me more.
It's basically a review at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Simple but powerful. You ask yourself, where was I led by wisdom today? And where did, like impulse or fear or ego take over.
Ah, like a daily debrief with yourself.
Exactly. It's about self-correction, not beating yourself up. It turns everyday life into this continuous learning loop.
That examine idea, that's the kind of concrete tool that makes this really practical. Okay, let's move to that critical middle step you mentioned. Getting understanding. The bridge, you called it.
Yes, the bridge from just knowing stuff to actually doing something wise with it.
And it requires more than just gathering info.
It requires disciplined attention, resisting that urge to just slap a label on things. Instead, you cultivate foresight. You ask the second, third questions.
Digging deeper than the surface symptoms.
Right. Moving towards the actual mechanisms causing the problem.
The source breaks this down. 3 layers of inquiry. First is causes.
Yes. Resisting the easy label. So instead of, that person's lazy when a deadline is missed,
You ask.
is the deadline realistic? Is the scope too big? Is it clear who owns what? Understanding spends time defining the real problem, not just reacting.
Makes sense. The second layer is context. You said this is often missed, especially when copying success from one place to another.
Hugely overlooked. You have to read the room, read the map. Context asks, okay, who really holds the trust here? Forget the org chart for a second. What are the unspoken rules, the cultural stories everyone's operating within?
So a strategy from a big city firm might just flop in a community group.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because the context, the trust network, the expectations, it's totally different.
Okay. Causes, context, and the third layer, consequences. This sounds like where a lot of unwise decisions happen. Short-term gain, long-term pain.
Precisely. And this leads to a really critical principle in the material.
Right.
Never take a first-order win that creates a second-order wound you cannot heal.
Wow. Say that again.
Never take a first-order win that creates a second-order wound you cannot heal.
Okay, unpack that. First-order win is the immediate good result.
Right, what you see right now, the quick fix. The second-order effect or wound is what that action teaches people, or how it subtly changes the health of the system down the line.
The ripple effects.
Exactly. The things you don't see immediately but can be much more damaging.
Can you give an example, maybe outside of business?
Sure, think about parenting. Maybe yelling at a child gets them to obey right now. That's the first-order win. The immediate problem seems solved. But the second-order wound, that could be the slow erosion of trust, of the child's feeling of safety, their willingness to come to you later with real problems. That loss of trust is way more damaging than whatever they did wrong initially.
Ah, I see. Understanding forces you to look further down the road before you act.
Yes. It asks, and then what?
So to help us do that looking ahead, the source offers some really practical tools. You mentioned 2. The first is a decision journal.
Yeah, this is simple but can be transformative. You just write down, what's the decision? Why am I making it? What do I expect to happen?
And the key is
Reviewing it later, 3 months, 6 months down the line. It forces you to look back honestly. Did things turn out as expected? Why or why not?
so you start seeing your own patterns, like maybe I always underestimate how long things take, or maybe I avoid conflict too much.
Exactly. It makes your thinking visible and helps you spot your own signature errors. Turns subjective feelings into something more objective you can learn from.
Okay, love that. And the second tool, the pre-mortem. That sounds intriguing.
It is. It flips the usual post-mortem on its head.
Instead of figuring out why something failed afterwards,
You do it before you even launch. You get your team together, or even just yourself, and you imagine, okay, it's 6 months from now, and this plan, this project, it failed. Utterly. Spectacularly.
okay, a bit grim.
But useful. Then you ask, why did it fail? And everyone lists the reasons.
Ah, so you're actively searching for the potential failure points before they happen.
Precisely. You're not just trying to be optimistic, you're stress testing the plan.
Can we apply this outside of work? Like, say, planning a big family event?
Totally. Planning a big reunion, run a pre-mortem, assume it was a disaster. Why? Okay, reason 1, we put Uncle Bob and Aunt Sue together, and they argued all night. Reason 2, there was nothing for the teenagers to do. They were bored stiff. Reason 3, the food arrived late and cold.
And now you can fix those things before the event.
Exactly. Change the seating plan, plan something to the teens, confirm backup options with the caterer. It moves planning from just reacting to being deliberate.
These tools, the journal, the pre-mortem, they really embed that understanding step.
Okay, let's move into applying this framework. Section 3, wisdom in the arenas of life, starting with the wise household.
Yeah. The source is very clear. Good homes are built. They don't just happen by accident.
Takes intentional effort.
Definitely. In marriage, for instance, those vows people take, they're not just nice words for the wedding day. They're the actual structure for the decades ahead.
The framework.
Right. And when conflict comes, and it always does,
Mm,
wisdom means figuring out what the fight is really about. It's usually not the dishes, is it? It's often about feeling unseen, unheard, or maybe a fear about fairness or workload.
So you need to understand the root cause, not just argue about the surface issue
Yeah.
and repair things quickly.
Yes. Repair quickly, don't let resentment build up. That takes humility again, doesn't it?
It does. What about money in the wise home?
This is a fascinating point in the source material. Money has to be a servant, not the master. And the key idea is that the family budget needs to be a moral document first. A moral document before it's a spreadsheet.
Exactly. It flips how we usually think about it.
How do you make a budget moral?
You start by asking, what do we truly value as a family?
Mm-hmm.
The generosity, learning, rest, connection. Then your spending plan has to actually reflect those stated values.
So if we say we value learning, but there's never money for books or courses.
Then your budget shows your actual values, regardless of what you say. The budget becomes this concrete place where wisdom meets the road.
Powerful. And in today's homes, there's the inescapable issue of technology, screens. The source calls them both window and wall.
A great description, right? A window onto the world, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But they can easily become a wall between the people physically in the same room.
Yeah, we've all seen that.
So the wise home sets intentional boundaries. Maybe devices charge outside bedrooms. Maybe the dinner table is a screen-free zone, a sanctuary for actual conversation.
It's about making tech serve the family's goals, not the other way around.
Exactly. Not letting it passively take control.
Okay, home as the training ground. Now let's step into the marketplace. Wise enterprise. A proving ground for character, the source says. How does this wisdom apply to business? Let's start with profit versus purpose.
Yeah, there's a careful distinction made here. Profit is vital. It's the signal you're creating value people want, and it's the fuel you need to keep going, to keep your promises. But it's not the purpose. It's not the brain or the heart of the business. If profit becomes the only goal, the source argues, you'll inevitably start cutting corners, compromising on quality, or treating people badly.
Chasing short-term gains again.
Right, which can damage the long-term health and reputation.
And integrity often shows up in pricing.
Definitely. Pricing is a real test. Underprice consistently, and you can't afford quality, you can't pay people well. Overprice, and you break trust with your customers.
So wisdom is finding that sustainable balance.
Yes, one that respects the value you provide and the margin you need to be durable and fair.
The material also highlights cash flow as the quiet truth teller.
Because you can play games with reported profit, but cash. Cash pays the bills. It doesn't lie.
And when it comes to managing risk in business, keeping a risk register, planning scenarios.
Yes, and using what the source calls stop-loss boundaries.
Like in stock trading.
Exactly the same idea, applied more broadly. These are limits you set in advance, before you're in a panic.
Give me an example in business.
Okay, maybe set a rule. If our monthly recurring revenue drops below X amount for 2 consecutive months, we automatically trigger these pre-agreed cost-saving measures. No debate in the moment.
So you take the emotion out of it.
You pre-decide. Because when things are going wrong, fear or ego can lead to really bad, impulsive decisions. You make the hard choice when you're calm and rational.
Can this apply personally too, outside of business risk?
Absolutely. Starting a side hustle. Set a boundary. If I invest 50 hours and don't see any traction defined beforehand, I'll pause and reevaluate. Or in a difficult conversation. If this starts getting personal or loud, I will suggest we take a break and come back tomorrow.
Pre-committing to wise action. I like that.
It's proactive self-governance.
Okay, let's look at careers now. The source talks about a trinity for career success: calling, competence, and reputation.
That's the framework. Calling is that sweet spot where what you're good at, aptitude, what you genuinely enjoy, affection, and what the world actually needs or asks you to do, assignment, all line up.
Finding that overlap.
Competence isn't just showing up. It's deliberately building scarce, valuable skills. And crucially, doing it under feedback, sometimes painful feedback.
Actively getting better at things that matter.
Yes. And finally, reputation, which is simply the result of promises kept over time and the character people observe in you. It's earned slowly.
And building that competence requires a plan, right? Not just drifting.
Absolutely. The wise approach involves having a competence plan. Looking ahead, say, 18 months, what skills do I need to start building now that will be really valuable in maybe 2 years?
Thinking ahead of the curve.
And focusing on the hard-edged skills, The specific capabilities, not just soft buzzwords. That's how your value compounds over time.
Okay, let's shift perspective now to the longer view. Legacy. The source has an interesting take here. Not a monument, but a garden.
Yeah, I love that analogy. Legacy isn't about building a big statue to yourself. It's more like tending a garden that will benefit others long after you're gone.
So legacy is what exactly?
It's the natural result, the residue of today's faithfulness. If you make wise choices today, build good systems, act with integrity, the positive effects that remain, the healthy garden you leave behind, that is your legacy.
You tend the future. You don't just commemorate the past.
Beautifully put.
And mentorship fits in here, as legacy made personal.
Very much so. But true mentorship, according to this view, isn't about creating mini-me's who worship your success.
No.
It's about offering your scars, sharing the expensive lessons you learned, the mistakes you made, so maybe the next generation doesn't have to pay the same high price.
Helping them learn to think, not just copy.
Exactly. Teaching them how to analyze, question, and hopefully spot their own potential pitfalls.
This idea of building things that last applies beyond individuals too, right? Institutional wisdom, making sure good practices outlive any one leader.
Yes. How do you write virtue, write wisdom into the very walls of an organization?
How?
Through robust systems and policies. Things like clear rules for how money is spent, procurement, well-defined succession plans, transparent processes, strong bylaws. These things act like scaffolding.
They make it easier for the average person to do the right thing.
Yes, and harder to do the wrong thing, even when tempted by convenience or self-interest. Good systems protect the institution's mission, even if leadership changes or isn't always stellar.
And the source gives a really tough test for leadership, especially civic leadership.
Oh, yeah.
It says the truest measure of your success is what happens after you leave.
Oof. That's sobering.
It implies the wise leader starts planning their exit almost from day one. Good documentation, training successors, ensuring continuity.
Refusing to make themselves indispensable, essentially, not confusing their ego with the actual mission.
Wow. Okay, so wrapping this all together, what's the main takeaway?
I think it circles back to that idea. Wisdom prefers rhythms to fireworks.
Consistency over drama.
Exactly. It's not about heroic one-off bursts of brilliance. It's about the quiet, relentless consistency of doing the small things well, day after day, following the sequence, using the tools, applying it in each arena. That ordinary faithfulness builds extraordinary strength over time.
So for you listening, as you think about integrating this, maybe the challenge is to pick one small, faithful step this week.
Yeah, something manageable. Maybe try that exam and review for just one night, or write down one decision in a journal.
Or maybe commit to a specific boundary with technology. Or apologize more quickly when you mess up.
Just one thing, start building that rhythm. Practice the intentionality.
It sounds like this path, the golden path of wisdom, it definitely has costs.
It does. It costs you your hurry. It costs you vanity, the need to always look good. It costs you the comfort of taking shortcuts.
But the payoff.
The yield is resilience. Durable peace, maybe? Hope that isn't easily shaken. And ultimately, a reputation, a name that means reliable, trustworthy, when people who really know you say it.
So we'll leave you with this question to mull over, maybe discuss.
What small, faithful action will you take today that your future self will look back on and thank you for?